second CPD in the series for this year. For those who are not members, the RICS, the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, is a global professional body promoting and enforcing the highest international standards in the evaluation, management, and development of land, real estate, construction, and infrastructure. As of 2018, the RICS qualified professionals in nearly 150 countries. RICS accredits 125,000 qualified and trained professionals worldwide. This body in Nigeria has been present as an association since 1963. Today, we are going to understand what blockchain is and what it isn't. Technology has defined the 21st century. Facebook, Apple, Google, Amazon have all. We should have a roadmap for which we can prepare ourselves for what is to come. Today we have Mr. Soeto, whose knowledge in this subject area is vast and not just theoretical, but also practical, both here and international. Let us therefore be prepared for a deep incursion into the potentials of blockchain technology. You are all welcome and please enjoy the presentation. Thank you very much.
Mr. Soeto is a technologist with over 25 years experience in the IT industry. He started out supporting IT infrastructures in organizations across Europe, progressing into enterprise computing at KPMG at their international headquarters in the Netherlands. Mr. Soeto worked as an infrastructure and solutions architect on various IT projects across Europe, working for blue-chip organizations before returning to Africa as CIO for an oil and gas organization. With an emphasis on enterprise computing, Mr. Soeto has the ability to find technical solutions to a wide variety of business requirements and challenges. Over the last few years, Mr. Soeto has been researching, developing solutions within the blockchain space and other emerging technologies. He has been involved in designing and implementing solutions within various verticals with a specific emphasis on Africa. Mr. Soeto holds a degree in accounting from the University of Lagos and is an alumnus of the Said Business School, University of Oxford, United Kingdom. Please give a warm round of applause as we invite Mr. Soeto.
So, what is the blockchain? Just like with a lot of these new technologies and a lot of these new words, there's a lot of hype around these things, and people tend to get confused by the meaning. And for most people, when you hear the blockchain, the first thing that comes to mind is the Bitcoin. So, the question is the blockchain the Bitcoin or the Bitcoin the blockchain? True, the Bitcoin is actually the first use case of the blockchain. So the blockchain is the technology that sits behind the Bitcoin. And the easiest way to describe this one analogy is you have the internet and you have your email. So to a lot of people, initially when the email came out, people used to say the email is the internet. But the email is just one of the various things you can do on the internet. Like you've got e-commerce sites, you've got payment systems, you've got all kinds of things. Nowadays you have all the social media and things like that you can do with the internet. The same applies with the blockchain. So in its simplest form, what is the blockchain? The blockchain basically is a distributed ledger. And more recently, a lot of us within this space, we actually try not to use the term blockchain, but we try to use the term distributed ledger technology. And just as I've said it, all it is, it's a ledger. It's a piece of paper where information is written onto. But in this case, it's an electronic piece of paper. People write information onto this piece of paper. A typical ledger is your bank account. It's the bank account you have with whichever bank you have. But the difference between the blockchain ledger and the ledger that you have in First Bank or UBA or any of the banks is, with the banks, it is what the bank says that I have in my account, is what I believe is in my account. I'm not saying that the banks are wrong, but what I'm just trying to say is, all the information is controlled by a central body, which is that particular bank. But with the blockchain, what happens is you have this ledger is now distributed among several different computers. The computers are called nodes. And then you then have visibility of this ledger. So going back to the Bitcoin. With the Bitcoin, there's actually a website whereby you can actually log on to that website and you can actually see all the transactions that actually occurred across the Bitcoin network. You have millions of nodes of the network across the world. So if you so wish, you can actually have a node of the Bitcoin network, if you so wish, here in Nigeria. But the thing is, you just need a lot of computing power, a lot of space, and I don't see any necessity for that. So why is it distributed, and what is so significantly different about it is the fact that when you want to write anything into that ledger, it has to go through a certain process whereby a certain number of nodes or computers within that network have to verify the authenticity of that transaction. So before any transaction is written into the ledger, it has to go through a process of consensus, where people actually look at it and say, yes, this is a valid transaction, so therefore we're going to write this transaction into the ledger. Now, as I said, there are multiple copies of this ledger. So if I, as an individual, if I took one of my ledgers and I decided, okay, I have a node in the Bitcoin network, I now go and change any information on that node. By the time I come back onto the network looks at it and it says, oh, this particular node is different. So therefore it cannot be right. 1 against 99. So in order for you to be able to hack the blockchain, you have to have 51% control of all the computers, all the nodes across the world. As it is today, there is no computing power that is possible to do that. And that's one of the reasons why it's so secure, because you have this information spread across so many different nodes, and you have a process of consensus before you write into the node. That is one thing. The second thing, which is the most important thing, and the reason why it's really important, is it is immutable. So once anything is written to that ledger, you cannot change the information. You can append to the information, but you can't change the information. And that is very important. That's one very important aspect of the blockchain. It is a write-once-only database. You can only write to it. You can't change it. You can append to it, but you can't change it. So therefore, it then means that any information that is written onto the blockchain, you have a complete audit trail of that particular transaction. Sorry, I just want to time myself to make sure I don't go there. Yes, so it's immutable. Then the next thing is, there's the issue of people being able to actually see this information. So as I said, it's a shared public ledger that everyone can inspect, but not one single person controls the ledger. So it therefore means that the people that are part of this blockchain collectively updates the ledger, and as I said, it can only be amended according to strict rules. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and apply this to a practical use case that has affected most of us in this room, and then maybe it will start to make sense. I want to believe that most people in this room at some point in time have attempted to buy land or have actually bought land in Nigeria, especially in Lagos. 2 years ago, myself and my friend went to buy some land behind the new shop like that, whatever that is. I said the blockchain is a ledger. Now imagine a scenario where the title of that land was recorded on this ledger. Now, I've said that this ledger is immutable, and I've said that before the information can be written to the ledger, it has to go through a process of consensus. So in this scenario, all the processes that exist today, in terms of you trying to register a parcel of land, will still remain. Whether it's, I actually don't know the full process, but whether it's, whether you do your survey, whatever you do, your governor's consent, your CFO, and all those things, they will still partake, they will still exist. But what then happens is at the end of the process, the title of that land, the ownership of that title is then written to the blockchain. Now, it's passed through that process of consensus. I've also said that this information is irrefutable. So once it's written, it can't be changed. So it then means that if, for instance, Benga owns a parcel of land, it's written to the blockchain. Nobody can change that information. But what you also find on the blockchain is you find who he actually purchased the piece of land from. So you have that complete audit trail down the line. So now I want to buy a parcel of land. What do? I log on to maybe the Lagos State land portal or whatever, say I want to buy a parcel of land, I put in the details of the land, the coordinates, it comes up on the blockchain, I say, oh, the land belongs to Mr. Ismail. I say, fantastic. Now I contact Mr. Ismail directly, saying, I want to buy your parcel. So what have I done then? One, I've confirmed the true ownership of the land. I have eliminated God knows how many intermediaries. The money-less, the agents, everybody. I've eliminated all those people. And I've gone directly to Mr. Ismail. Meaning that maybe he wants to sell his land for 5 million. By the time it goes through the agents, the money and everything, if I was going the number way, I'll be paying 10 million for it. But because I'm going directly to him, we've cut out all those intermediaries. Now, we now start the process. I contact him, he agrees, we say 5 million. We now go through the normal process of contacting our lawyers, the lawyers talk to themselves, they go ahead to go and buy the parcel of land. Now there's something else within the blockchain which I will get to in a little while. It's called smart contracts. And what smart contracts is, it's a normal legal contract, but it actually automates the process of the contract. So basically, in this scenario, the contract is I want to purchase that parcel of land. In order for that contract to be ratified, we have to check to make sure that Mr. Ismail has true ownership of the land. We have to check to make sure that I pay the right amount that we've agreed to, and then at that point in time, the title passes to me. But what happens in a smart contract is, I don't pay the money directly to Mr. Gbenga. I pay the money into an escrow account. Now, at this point in time, what then happens is, the searches are done. Once the searches come back, and they come back saying that the land, the title to the land, belongs to Mr. Gbenga. But then something very important, we're not just searching to see if he owns title of the land. We're also checking to see if there are any links. So maybe 3 years ago, he needed to do some business. So he now goes to the bank and he borrows 1 million naira. And 1 million naira is then, there's a lien put against the parcel of land for 1 million naira. Now that lien is written to the blockchain by the bank. So it now means that anybody who wants to purchase that parcel of land will see that there's a lien on the parcel of land for 1 million naira. It gives me one of two options. I can either speak to the owner of the land and say, reduce your sell price by 1 million, I'll take over the 1 million, or you settle the 1 million and I buy the parcel of land. So what that means is, it then means that we're in a position whereby the bank has that information that has been put against the land that nobody can remove. All you can do, as I said, you can append to it, you cannot remove it. So if that loan or the lien has been settled, another transaction is written to the blockchain to say that this loan has been settled, and the bank will confirm that it has been settled. Now, the title passes across to me, and we now, what happens is, by the time we've done all the searches, everybody is satisfied, it's automated. The title passes to me, the money passes to Mr. Ismail. That is how a smart contract works. Now, let's take this a step further. We all have drivers, we have cooks, we have gardeners, we have security men, we have all kinds of people. Now, one of the biggest challenges within the society today that all the banks are talking about is banking the unbanked, bringing the unbanked people into the digital environment. Now, imagine a scenario whereby we have a land title, we have a land portal where all the land titles are on the blockchain, on that particular blockchain. That hash is then appended to any transaction that you do on that blockchain. So it means that at any point in time, you can go through the blockchain, you can look at the list of transactions, and you can find out who actually carried out any particular transaction. So it means from an audit perspective, you have a complete audit trail of who has done what and when things were done. Then with that, it then means that you're also able to validate things. Like for instance, you can have an asset that is registered onto the blockchain. You're then able to validate that asset, that this is a valid asset and it was registered on the blockchain, the asset, the title, the ownership of the assets, and things like that. So what I'll do is, by the time I take you through, I have some use cases and examples, and then I will go through each of these components and I'll explain each of them to you. And then then lastly, you have the cryptocurrencies. The cryptocurrencies and the tokenization. Okay, there we go. Fantastic. Yes. Fantastic. So this space, I attended a number of conferences all across the world, and more specifically here in Nigeria. And I found out that each training session, each conference I went to, all they were talking about was cryptocurrencies. They were talking about the blockchain, the Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and all the other ones. And for a lot of people, as far as they are concerned, that is what the blockchain is about. Now, we're all interested in money. Let's not fool. Everybody, it's all about money. And especially more within this part of the world. Everybody's interested in money. And that is the one thing that has attracted most people to the blockchain. Because the blockchain was a typical example was the Bitcoin as a coin, as an asset. I think about 5 years ago was worth maybe $100. Today it's worth about $10,000. There's so many examples of coins that have been created. But I asked someone one simple question. When they try to take the Bitcoin and create and call it an asset class, I then ask a simple question. What is the value of one Bitcoin? And people say, oh, it's $10,000. I say, no, it's not $10,000. The value of a Bitcoin is the value that another person is willing to pay for it. The reason why it's worth $10,000 today is if you take it to the market, there's someone who can pay $10,000 for it. And that is the only reason why the Bitcoin is worth $10,000. People will come up with some kind of excuse that, oh, because there's only going to be a theoretical limit of 20 million Bitcoins and all those kind of things. But that is not the reason why it's worth that value. December 2017, the Bitcoin, it reached its peak at $20,000. There were people, that was when people were going mad. I know of someone that mortgaged his house and bought Bitcoin at $18,000. The Bitcoin crashed back down to $5,000. It's only recently, in the last 2 months, that it has come back up to $10,000. So it is not an asset class from my perspective. And the same applies to all the cryptocurrencies. It is what someone is willing to pay for it. But saying that, I know people that have made money from just trading these cryptocurrencies, the mining and the trading of cryptocurrencies. Now, we then have a token. Now, the difference between a token and a cryptocurrency, a token represents something. It represents a part of a project or it represents an asset. And that is the basic difference between a cryptocurrency and a token. A token actually has a value, has a nominal value, as against a cryptocurrency that doesn't. So, I'll try and speed through this. So you have two types of blockchains. You have permissionless and permission blockchain. So far, what I've been talking about mainly has been permissionless blockchains. So the Bitcoin is a permissionless blockchain. As in, anybody can become a member of the node. Anybody can become a member of the network, as long as you have the requisite computing power. But what we are really interested in, and the area that we work in, is the permission blockchains. So the basic difference between a permissionless and permission is actually in the name. Within a permission blockchain, there is a limit to who can participate in this particular blockchain. So there's a limit to the number of nodes you can have, and there's even a restriction on the people who can actually access information within this particular blockchain. And within the enterprises that we're all working, it's permission blockchains that we'll basically be talking about. Now, the blockchain is a game changer across all industries, and I'll try and give examples of that. So the thing about it is, it's transformational. So it's one of those things like, I'm sure we've all heard the Kodak story and other stories like that. It's one of those things that we cannot put our heads in the sand and say that this is not actually going to disrupt our industries. I think it's going to disrupt every industry, but it is not going to disrupt every industry fully. I feel that the manual way in which you do things is still going to happen, but there's going to be some kind of hybrid between the manual way in which you do things and this new technology that is coming into there. So basically what it means is it enables you to do things more efficiently. It enables you to create secure records and create a complete audit trail within whatever transactions you're doing. So, the sectors that are using the blockchain, so basically if you look at across these sectors, practically every sector is using the blockchain, but the biggest use is in this sector, which is in banking and finance. And obviously because it was primarily targeted at the financial sector. Now, the blockchain, is it the future for Africa? The honest truth is, it is actually happening now. This is a very interesting overview of what's happening in Africa. Because what I'm trying to say, I know the title is we're looking at the world, but I want us to be kind of African-centric. Let's look at what affects us, where we are. We're not interested in what happens over there in the West. And one of the things that I like about the blockchain is I actually think that it's a technology that is actually meant for the African continent and not for the Western continent. And one of the biggest advantages we have here in Africa is the fact that we have, as it is today, we have systems in place, but we don't have all the legacy systems that countries in the West have. So it therefore means that when new technologies like this come out, we're able to leapfrog and we're able to do things. So a typical example is mobile money. Mobile money doesn't exist in the West. It's only in Nigeria, and that difference is sorted out between the telcos and the bank. It's going to change so many things within the financial sector here in Nigeria. So there are various products. So in Sierra Leone, for instance, the last elections was done on the blockchain. And I've actually been involved in a particular study that happened here in Ghana that has done something with that. And then in Nigeria, there's a company called Sensor Global. They're also doing something within this space. In South Africa, on the blockchain for a week, they were amazed at the results that came out. The transactions were going through 95% faster than the transactions as they are today. A typical example is you want to transfer money from here to another country and you use SWIFT. I don't know how long it takes, is it 2 days or 3 days? But with the cryptocurrency and with the blockchain, you can do it instantaneously. And I'm going to show you an example of that now. So, and then there's a Bitcoin exchange. But this is very important, and this is what is happening in Nigeria today. In Nigeria today, on average, ₦1 billion worth of Bitcoins are traded weekly in Nigeria today. So the fact that people say it's illegal or whatever it is happening now. There's a bit, so over about 72 billion was traded in the past year. It happens every day. There was a time when, the time a couple of years ago, when a lot of these people traders, they actually use Bitcoin to transact with the guys in China. And the guys in China actually prefer the Bitcoin because it means they can get their money instantaneously. But the only thing that they do is as soon as they get the money, they go and transfer it back to fiat currency, activity in fiat currency, whatever their local currency is. So it's being used and it's a reality. So what I want to try to do now is I want to change and I want to show you a couple of use cases. So the number of these use cases across Africa and how you can use this technology. And I'm going to talk about 4 or 5 different industries and how it affects these different industries. Nigerian Customs Service. This was the first public sector blockchain use case in Africa. At one point in time, when we started working within the blockchain sector, within the industry, we never thought that the public sector organization was going to be the first organization to adapt the blockchain in Nigeria as an excise trader. The Nigerian Customs Service, they charge excise duty on all goods that are manufactured. The Nigerian Customs Service is actually the largest generator of revenue in Nigeria. Now, within the various manufacturing sectors, over the years, certain industries have been getting waivers and exemptions from excise duty. So as it stands today, it's only alcohol and tobacco that pay excise duty. I think there are about 80 organizations, manufacturers altogether across the country. Now, what was the first thing we did? The first thing we did was the process of applying for an excise license or an excise permit. Every exercise we have done is we have eliminated the possibility of fake excise permit licenses. It is not possible anymore. because everything is related to the blockchain. So it then puts Nigerian Customs Service in a process whereby now, whereas they couldn't do it previously, they can now make a demand that every single manufacturer in Nigeria must register on this portal. Now everything's on the portal. With the same amount of manpower they have, or even less manpower, they're now able to deal with this. And the crazy thing about this is, even when you get the license, it is only valid for 1 year, and it expires on the 31st of December. So if you have gone through this whole process, and you get your license on the 20th of December, it is only valid for 11 days. Come the 1st of January, you have to go through this whole process again to get a new license. But with this new system, all you do, you press a button, you press renew, because it has all your information on there. You go to a payment gateway, you make your payment, you get your renewal certificate immediately. So that's the first thing we've done. So there are a couple of things we've done there. And this is one of the things I kind of want to explain, that the blockchain as a technology does not work in isolation. It works with other technologies. So that's the first thing we did with them. The next thing we did, and I'll try and speed this up, is we now track all the products that are manufactured through the blockchain. Meaning that at the end of the day, we're then automatically able to determine how many cartons of beer MBL produced. Because everything is on the system, so at that point in time, Nigerian Customs Service automatically know how much MBL have to pay to them in excise duty. They're estimating that with this system, it's going to increase their revenue by 55%. It's not going to stop leakages. And this is one of the things that the ones that blockchain accepted, but we've kept that down. We're Oracle's foremost blockchain partner in Africa. The Nigerian Customs project that we did at the point in time 2 years ago was Oracle's largest blockchain project in the world. And I'm not just saying in Africa, it was the largest project in the world. Unfortunately, the whole project has been online now, and other projects have overtaken us due to our efficiency here in this region. We have a joint business relationship with PwC, so a lot of the projects we're working on, so like the credentials platform, we're actually doing it in partnership with PwC, and we're also a Microsoft partner. We work in various sectors. Thought leadership. So this speech, me speaking here today, is part of what we do as thought leadership. So there are actually two managing partners, myself and Emmanuel. Emmanuel is actually in the UK at the moment. He actually attended, went to speak at the conference. That's me said. I'll be shocked if there are no questions.
The quantity survey is simply survive because they will still do their POQs and they will tell us how much it costs.
Yeah.
That means I probably will not have a job to do again.
You will.
Not sure. So please, questions for Mr. Shoeto, people that want to know what to do next. Maybe I'm going to start doing technology training and studying all of these things, but please, anyone that has questions.
Operations even around, if you look at our country registrar, allows our owners who are focused at, it's meant to be noticed to everybody. I feel that what the blockchain is trying to achieve is that form of notice, and we're available across sovereign boundaries. But then my question is, who regulates the blockchain protocol? Who regulates it? How is it regulated? Good to know that. Thank you.
Sovereign countries, advanced countries are worried about blockchain. And you are an expert in this area. Remember, we're a developing country where there are abuses, physical abuses. How much less something you don't see with your physical eyes? People pick people up, people lock people up, people do all sorts of things. So what do you think about this of blockchain business? How can an African country utilize it morally, justifiably, highly regularized? Because if I'm in APC and I want to devastate a PDP rank, blockchain is very remember that the this thing because APCs confuse our blockchain to find out how we can say it.
Look, I was very worried when you said that the buyer gets direct contact to the seller. So when you say that there's still a duty for the agents, so please tell us what that is. My name is Susan.
Edmark is a company, an international company like Forever. It sells drugs, supplements. I think they have one office at Arumere there, beside Forever. By January 2020, they are going to formally launch their coin, Edcoin, presently at 16 cents. You can't see it, unlike Bitcoin that the coin is already available. And they are trying to build a mixed development right here in Lagos, Lekki, worth 5 billion naira. It was published in Guardian in February. And as you're seeing me, in November, I'm going to buy some few coins before it is launched at NSE. Actually, our guys can see me for further discussion. So what do you know about this? Edcoin, Edmark. Because it says something about Bitcoin also. That is not an asset.
Everything, you've registered the title. Mr. Benga Ismail built this house, he owns this house, he has registered it, he's transferring it to Mrs. Patton. She checks online on your platform, she finds he owns it, she transfers money, so it's done. But Mr. Benga Ismail could have a wife who has a stake in that property by virtue of family law. How does blockchain take advantage of that? When you cut out a lot of human involvement in this.
Technology does not exist in isolation. And in a number of scenarios, the technology will mimic the current procedures you have in place. So a typical example is what we did with the Nigerian Customs Service. We followed the exact process in terms of what they do today in order to register people, in order for people to get their excise permits. The only difference is we've automated this thing and we've turned it into a digital platform. But all the people that are involved in the process as it is today are still involved. The only difference is rather than them get the paper manual way, they're now getting them in digital form and they're getting it through a portal. So what it then means is there has to be a certain amount of reorientation of the people that exist within the ecosystem. I know they say there's only one constant in life, and that's change. And unfortunately, people are the most resistant to change. Because we say this is the way we've always done it. So why do we have to do it another way? Because one of the key questions that happened when we were trying to do the process re-engineering in Nigerian Customs Service was, I kept on asking the question, why do you do this? And nobody could answer. They said, well, this is the way we've always done it, sir. That's not the question I'm asking. The question is, why do you do it? And the same applies with a lot of things that we do in our current processes today. You will find out that there are things that we've done that we've actually inherited from the colonial times and have not been updated. And these are things that we need to, I'm not saying that we need to get rid of these things, but we just need to adjust the way we do things and make things more efficiently. Now, who regulates it? The same people that regulate it today will be the same people that will regulate it going forward. So like, for instance, if we're looking at the land titles, within Lagos State, I guess there's a whole aspect of how land is taken care of in Lagos State today. It will still be the same people. The only difference is, and like I think even in Lagos, I think there's this database where I think all the surveys and everything are people. We're not going to get rid of that. We're going to use that system. So what the blockchain is going to do is it's going to interface with that existing database and pull information out of that database. But the only thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure that before the information is written to the blockchain, there is some kind of verification. There's some kind of consensus that is done among certain individuals. It's always going to be open to abuse. And I'm actually going into the second question here. It's always going to be open to abuse. A computer system is garbage in, garbage out. Whatever is put into that system is what comes out of the system. So as much as possible, we put as much controls as humanly possible to regulate information that goes into the system. So in the customs, so I'll give you a typical example of the credentials platform. On the credentials platform, you as an individual, you log onto the platform, you put your information into the platform. It now goes to the data inputter, who today is the person that collects your manual form. Because today you have a manual form you fill, you give it to some person. That data inputter is the same person that checks that information to see that the information is tallies with the documents you have supplied. So in a scenario, if it's some kind of educational qualification, yes, it may take some time for us to get to that level. But let's say it's a certificate from Unilag. Within the system, you can check with Unilag to see if this is an authentic certificate. But within the other professional bodies, you can definitely check within the other professional bodies. Now, once that data inputter has now gone through that process, they approve it, it then goes to the supervisor. The supervisor cross-checks what the data inputter has done before it then goes to whoever the registrar is in that organization, before the registrar commits the information to the actual blockchain. It is totally customizable. Some organizations, they want 2 steps. Some organizations, they want 4 steps. Some organizations, they want 5 steps. But the bottom line is there must be a minimum of 2 steps of people checking this information before it is committed to the blockchain. It's a very difficult question to answer, sir. There was only one reason why I came back to Africa. Like I said, I left Nigeria 2 days after I finished my exams in Unilag. And I've worked all over the world. I've worked for, God knows, Microsoft, IBM, KPMG, and all the rest. But at the end of the day, I was never fulfilled. And the reason why I, as an individual, was not fulfilled was I knew that there was somewhere I came from. Every single organization I've worked in, there have been, I'm not saying black people, there have been Nigerians in key decision-making positions in all these organizations. And I'm wondering that we have all these people all over the world. What are we doing out there? Everybody works with full integrity. Everybody does what is supposed to be done. We all obey the rules. So why can't we come back to Nigeria and do the same thing? Hence the reason why I'm standing here today. I came back to work for 40 hours. It was not a fit for me because it was a typical Nigerian organization. I lasted there 2 years before I was sacked. But the bottom line is, I now came across the blockchain. And there was a particular TED talk that I listened to. And after listening to that TED talk, I knew this was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. There's one key thing that the blockchain says. It creates trust in a trustless environment. Look at it from this perspective. What is the interest rate in Nigeria? It's, assuming we're looking at treasury bills, we're not talking about loans here, which is 20 or whatever %. We're looking at treasury bills, which is more like guaranteed or you get it back. It ranges between 10 and 12%. At some point it was like 17.5%. In the UK, what is the interest rate in the UK? If you are lucky, you get 2%. I have a house in the UK, so why don't I sell my house in the UK and come and put all my money in treasury bills here in Nigeria? And at the end of every year, I take my money out, transfer it back to pounds because I'm afraid of the naira depreciating, because that's the one thing that can catch up with me. Why don't I do that? There's one key reason why we don't do that. Within the property, talking about the agent, and I'm trying to mix all these questions together, the role of the agent. The role of the agent now extends beyond the borders of Nigeria. Why are people in diaspora? Why are they not buying houses here? Do you know how many people in diaspora build houses and come back to find out that it was pictures of the same all these years? But if you have a scenario where the properties are on the blockchain and you appeal to these diaspora people,
both from properties, both from investment, both from all this kind of, as a matter of fact, the largest source of income in the Nigerian economy is money being remitted back from diaspora. It is not the oil and gas, it is money that is coming back from diaspora. Now, if you have a system whereby people over there know that they can purchase assets and they have clear path to show that this is my ownership of this asset. If I want to dispose of the asset, I can dispose of it quickly. I can get my money almost instantaneously. It opens up the economy. It opens up what we can do. So rather than me say it's going to replace my role as an agent, I look at the opportunities that it's going to bring for me as an agent. How I can do so much more with technology and how I can get things. I can reach so many more people. That is what I will be looking at. I will be looking at what it can do to affect me. Like we always use this term that thinking outside the box. What is that box that we actually have? It's an artificial box that we have created around ourselves. Because I know that I'm a typical example of that. People look at me, and the fact that I have dreads and stuff, they look at me, they take a step back. But what this has done to me is it has created, I have become a lot more confident as an individual, whereby it is what I have to give to you. It is not the way I look. The reason why everybody is listening to me is because of what I am saying and what I know. It's not because of the way I look. And that is where we need to move things forward. In terms of, I'll look at I'll take the Bitcoin trail, I'll take that one last. Transfer of titles, I agree with you. It's open to abuse. Just like everything within our society is open to abuse. But it is one step at a time. As I said, how do we eat an elephant? A mouthful at a time. Let me tell you something. That NCS project, when we were doing the project, at no point in time did I mention the word corruption. I never mentioned the word corruption. I never mentioned the fact that people are doing huge fraudulently. Fantastic organization, you guys are doing a fantastic job. But by the time it is, the reason why there's been a lot of hesitation about sign up for the final project is people are finally saying, oh, he's going to block things. So they said, okay, you know what? He's going to block things. But then there are also some very smart people that have to tell them, yeah, they're blocking them. But at the end of the day, it means more money coming in, so more money I can put in my pocket. Those are the ones that are smart. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that's what we should do. Please don't go to. But what I'm just trying to say is, it means there's more money coming in. There are also so many advantages that that project will bring, and you now start showing people the advantages. So as long as you do some kind of cost-based analysis, and it tilts us towards the profitability side of things, that is what we need to look at. So I agree, the transfer of titles is going to be open to abuse, but we tackle these things one at a time. Now let me look at it, let me tell you the people that are there, they're old. Eventually people are going to die. Younger people are going to come through. If we have a credentials platform, it then means that the people that are coming through, we know that they're qualified people. And we just take it one step at a time. It's a journey of 1,000 miles. We have to take it one at a time. How advanced the credentials platform? How advanced? It's quite advanced. We are currently working on the pilot. We hope to go live with the pilot within the next 3 months. The system is built. We have what is called an MVP, a minimum viable product. It is built. It's built, whoever is interested, I can actually come and show you a demo of the live system. It is built. But it's a case of like, we're being very strategic about it, as in what organizations do we want to be on the pilot? Because it is the caliber of those organizations that will determine whether other organizations come onto the platform. And that is the stage we're at. Now, to my very good friend, I will try to keep my opinions to myself. Because one of the key things that I said when I started this journey in blockchain, there were actually 3 of us that started the company together, and 1 person left. And I made it very clear that I was not going to have anything to do with cryptocurrencies. I am not interested in cryptocurrencies in any way whatsoever. I'm in here for the long haul. I'm not here for something for a short meal. Now, a lot of blockchain projects, any blockchain project that I see, and at the end of the day, there's a coin attached to the blockchain project, I'm very, very skeptical about that blockchain project. Because there's something called ICOs. ICOs is an initial coin offering. It's a way in which you go onto the internet to raise capital. So it's the same thing as an IPO, but done in a digital way. There's two basic differences between an ICO and an IPO. IPO, you're buying shares of the company. ICO, you're not buying shares of anything. You're buying into an idea of a project with the hope that what you are buying today will catch on, and that coin or that representation of that project will appreciate in future. So you're only doing it because you want to sell that thing in future to make money. Today, I can do an ICO. Like some people have told me that I can sell ICO. And I don't have any formal training in marketing, but I know how to appeal to people. So I can come out here and I can do one of these projects. Typical example, the property management project. I could put that together as a blockchain project and start selling and throw up an ICO. It makes sense to everybody in this room. You can see the benefit of this project. But at the end of the day, I do my $5 million, I step away. It's up to you to do what you want to do with the project. And I'm rich. And that is what happens with 90% of the initial coin offerings. So yes, it's not MMM, but you have to be very wary if you are going to invest in an ICO. Can you make money? Most definitely you can make money. But is it long term? I don't know. So I will reserve my comments. We can have a one-on-one discussion about it later, so I won't talk too much about it. So let's continue with the next round of questions, and if we can start with Madam. I hope I answered everyone's question.
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. And thank you to the RICS. Really great topic. They really had to get me out of my office because I have been very agitated over technology and its disruption in our industry and in our society. In fact, I constantly tell the young guys in my office, just give me another 5 years to make me relevant, and I can sort of go off and do other things. It's real. I mean, there's no conversation. It's ironic, just a couple of days ago, I had some young millennials between the technology world trying to talk about prop techs, wealth tech, fintechs, the whole ambit of technology and its disruptions. And really, from my perspective, I was trying to present a problem. And I think if we see it that way, what are our challenges and how can technology resolve our challenges? I think that's a better way to appreciate what happens in your response. But there's one bit that I'm interested in. I'll probably have more detailed conversation. So I sat in this room, I was desperately cold, that's why I had to put my the phone. And I thought to myself, cooling is one great challenge we have. I'm about to commission a building management system in my headquarters. We have one, it's just never worked effectively. And one of the most difficult things is 1 minute one person is hot, next minute person is cold. I wonder if there is a solution through blockchain that can unpack that. How about
They raise money, which is what securitization was. Raise money through different people. Now, if blockchain can make this secure and put some form of strong foundation, then we might have a means whereby people from anywhere in the world can invest anywhere. But coming back to the other question, which is, how do I know the title is real? Because if it's a faulty foundation or a root of title, and I can go in and register this title, and it's not mine. How do I take it out? Because you said it's refutable. I've already put in there that it's mine. So I think it's a good question for all of us to see how can I get through, because the computer as it is does what you tell it to do. Doesn't bring it to an idea. So that's one issue that's come about. The other question I have is which is to say, what are the rules that allow amendments? You said there were rules effectively that you need to be able that allows you to go in there. And the third and final one is that, again with the internet is simple. Once the internet is there, I can go and do whatever I like on the internet. I can set up Amazon and hope for the best. So how do I get involved with this blockchain and go on? Can I do it privately and set up my own land registry? Can I set up my own secure data situation and have people come into it? So those kind of things, how do we go about it?
I think that there has to be regulation. You cannot let things, you can't let people do things willy-nilly. And I'll give you a typical example. The biggest threat to the world economy as we stand today is Facebook and Telegram. So you have the Libra, and then the Telegram, they have something called Tom. Now, these two organizations have the two largest networks in the whole world. So imagine a scenario where you have a token, and they are doing it the right way. They're not doing cryptocurrencies, it's token, because it's going to be backed by the US dollar, 1-to-1. So you're now in a position where from your Facebook account, I can transfer money to anybody, anywhere in the world. I want to take a drink at the bar there. I want to pay, I bring out my phone. They have a bar scanner, I just scan it, the money transfers to them automatically. There's something, so I'm not an economist, and this is where my partner was here, he will be very helpful. So there's something called seigniorage in economics. Something to do with money and how you control money and how money is brought into circulation. This basically wipes that out. It also wipes out the role of the central banks. And that is why I, as an individual, I never believe that Libra is going to work. They are not going to let it work. In its present format, it's going to work in some format or the other, but not in the format it is today. There's no way I'm going to let Mark Zuckerberg control my money. This is the same guy that is selling, that sold America down the drain to the Russians. How will I allow him to control the financial system? So regulation, where the central bank of Nigeria as a country, they are, in their own way, they're trying to do something about it. And I will not fault them too much. Because you see, this is something that has caught everybody off guard. And we really don't know what to do. Because you're dealing with an industry that exists in the cloud. Because that's one thing I didn't mention. All blockchain systems exist in the cloud, every single one of them. So when everything exists in the cloud, how are you now going to put boundaries? Because if you regulate me, because this was one of the questions I approached the SEC guy, and they said, oh, they're going to regulate every single exchange in Nigeria. And I said, look, if you regulate me in Nigeria, all I do is I move my company registration to Mauritius. As it is today, my servers don't exist in Nigeria. None of my data exists in Nigeria. So if you want to regulate me, all I do is I change my company registration, and you can't regulate me. So it's a very touchy subject, and it's something that has to be thought about very carefully. And I think there has to be some kind of synergy between the people that work in the blockchain space and the regulators. So one of the things that, I can't really say in public, but one of the things I told the SEC guys, I told them what they needed to do. It gives you an added advantage, as in it gives you a full audit trail of whatever has happened. I'll give you a typical example. I know of a scenario whereby there was a judgment that was done in the court of law about 10 years ago. It was over property. The parents died, the children now came up, and they were now fighting because the other person encroached on the other person's property. They now went to the court to go and bring out the judgment. You won't believe it that the judgment had been changed. Yeah. It had been changed. But if that judgment had been written to the blockchain, even if it was going to be changed, whoever made that change, why the change was made, it will be there. There was also something I didn't approach on your first question to do with family law. It's about awareness. Because if you have this kind of solution, so there's a solution we're currently working on. We're working on the Wills platform. Now, we're having all kinds of challenges because of the way the will is done today, going through the probate, going through this. There has to be this stamp. Apparently, there's a stamp that you put on every contract. It's a physical stamp that you put on every contract. MBA, the law guys are saying you cannot digitize it because the reason why you can't digitize it is because they sell the stamp. It's a simple thing. I'll use a digital stamp, you can still sell it.
So it's about you looking at every challenge and then approaching the challenge and approaching technology to the challenge. Rather than you say you can't do it. Why can't I do it? Because it's a stamp. Because you collect money. Okay, I'll make a digital stamp. You will collect even more money. Because now you are not in a position whereby no contract can be done without this digital stamp. Whereas today you can do it with, or people can even forge your stamp or can photocopy your stamp. What stops me from going through a color photocopier and making copies of your stamp? But now, because it's digital, you even get more money from it. And these are the ways you approach things, and these are the ways you solve problems. The Ethiopia, or the way we plan, or what we're hoping for, is we're hoping for there to be an ecosystem of blockchains, whereby different blockchains speak to each other. Now, one of the other things I didn't talk about was when it came to blockchain. So the actual term blockchain, there are actually various different types of blockchains within the permission space. There are various types. So, but the common ones are the Ethereum, the Hyperledger, the Corda, there's IoT and some other ones. Those are the popular ones. So you have different types of blockchains. So the idea behind it is have an ecosystem, because there's a platform that we're building whereby these various blockchains can communicate with each other. So a typical example is NIMC, the National Identity Management Commission. Everything that you do in an economy starts from your identity. So in a scenario where you have your identity on the blockchain, they're taking your biometric details, it's on the blockchain. So if you have that, the issue of KYC becomes a non-issue. Because for your KYC, all you need to do is integrate with the NIMC platform, and you get your KYC from there. You have your BVN that has their own data. You have your mobile phones. I think the mobile phone network is actually the biggest one that has biometric data and all kinds of information from people. Now, if you want to get a passport, a national one, if you want to get a Nigerian passport, you need your NIMC number. But as it is today, it's a piece of paper. We're actually starting an academy. We're starting a blockchain academy. And what we're doing here is we're trying to address the one fault that most training sessions have. And that is the fact that you go to a training session or you go to a workshop and that's it. What happens after that? So what we're now looking at is we're looking at going into a workshop, a training session, and at the end of the workshop we teach you how to identify use cases. Now, out of all the people that went into that workshop, we now look at the use cases, we now look at the top 5 use cases, and we take those 5 people and we put them into an incubation center, and we build those solutions. So we build it till we get to the stage whereby it can actually become a product that can go to the market. That's one of the things we're doing. We're not just doing it here in Nigeria, we're also actively looking at doing it in diaspora. Because there's so many of our children that are in the UK, US, God knows where, that are there and are lost. Intelligent young people that we need to come back here. Yeah. But they don't know what to come back to do. So if you have this kind of scenario whereby you can put them in, you take them through this kind of workshop, training, and then put them in some kind of incubation center. It's an incubation center. They can be anywhere in the world. And we do disability studies, viability reports and everything to make sure that these are viable like this. And then we actually have people who are now interested in funding these people, funding the projects. So it's the whole project cycle from the initial person to the end. So we kind of call it making them entrepreneurs. So we're calling it technology entrepreneurs because we're not just focusing on the blockchain, we're focusing on emerging technology because I said they all work hand in hand together. So this is some of the things we're doing. So like for me, I'm coming from a perspective that we need to do practical things. And this is the only way we can do things. Yes, at the end of the day, people are going to pay for these services. But in the process, you're providing a service to the economy. So, I think I'm off with that.
For giving us his experience and his time. And on this note, I want to invite Estate Surveyor Gwenga Olanino to present this plaque.
from Lagos.
How many of you agree?
Can you see yourself?
Well, on behalf of the RICS Nigeria Group, I'd like to thank you for this excellent presentation. I must say I've been to a few blockchain seminars, but this is the first time it has actually been broken down in a practical manner. So we thank you, and we hope when next we call upon you, you'll actually show up. Thank you very much.